Hi, Book 2. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. And it's time for part 2 of my sort of autumnal TBR. So, it did give me a chance. I did add a couple other books as well. And actually, one of the books of poetry that I got last Christmas. And which I guess right now I've been trying to collect more poetry, and I also wanted to get into plays as well a lot more, which actually, you know what, I'll be right back. This one too. This should be. I don't know. Until the spring for that one. Okay, sorry about that. And there was a few other ideas that I just thought about including as well. Okay. First, let me show you the fantasy books that I've been meaning to get to. Okay, so first, earlier this year, I ordered this book, Sunderland Ascends, by Josiah Bancroft. This is a four book series, I believe. This is about a guy, and then I think he's this guy named Sunderland. Oh, he's a headmaster. Thomas Sunderland, he just got married, so he takes his new bride to this infamous tower called the Tower of Babel, and each level is a different world all its own, and he loses his wife at the Tower of Babel, and basically the whole book is about him finding her. And he has to go through each level, which, like I said, is a world unto its own. So it's kind of like, I imagine it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland, where Alice runs into all these different mad and crazy characters. I imagine it's going to be very similar to that. And I think I'm probably going to like this book a little bit more than, I remember this book, I was motivated to buy this book because of Alan from the Library of Alexandria, which I've not watched a video from him in a while. I'll have to check and see what his latest videos are. But this one, along with, what is that other one? I cannot think of what it's called. The book about the guys it's kind of like the Three Musketeers. There's 4 books. And I remember I got that one as well, and I figured, is it Trader's Blade, or is that a different series? Maybe it's Trader's Blade. No, I think that's a different series. Yeah, that's the First Law trilogy, which that I loved. I cannot think of what it's called, but it's been compared. It made me think of Three Musketeers a little bit, and I ended up not liking that one as much. I mean, I had a good, not that I didn't have a good time reading it, but just wasn't for me. But that was also, so that was also was inspired by Alan from the Library of Alexandria. So maybe, I think I will probably like this one a lot more. And so that's that one. I figure I should probably include that in this potential TBR. And then another book that is definitely one I should include, but I don't know if I'll get to it. But I need to continue with the Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Which actually, I mean, as you can see, I've gotten a pretty good. I've read quite a bit of it. It's just I keep putting it down and then picking it back up again. But I don't want to make the same mistake I made last time where I ended up feeling like I had to start over because it had been so long. So I need to pick this up soon, like maybe later on this year. I do really enjoy it. It's just, and it's so, and I did watch Jay from Captured in Words. He basically explained what happens in the book. So I was kind of spoiled, but it helped refresh my memory of what happens in the rest of the plot. And things that were kind of confusing, he explains them. So it really helped watching that. I mean, I might even want to watch it again just to remind myself once again. But this is Brandon Sanderson writes some really cool books. So far, there's never been a book by him. He's definitely an auto-author. Although, there are some of his middle grades that I have not. Like, The Arithmetist. And Skyward, I did enjoy it. And I still have the other books in that series on my radar. Like, I think I might see about getting them via audiobook, like on Libby or something, and continue the series there. Starsight is book 2, but hopefully on audiobook, not the ebook. Because, I mean, if you like ebooks, that's fine, but I prefer audiobooks, either physical copies, or if I don't do physical, it's going to be an audiobook. Because that's just, I just don't want to stare at the screen again when I'm reading. I want to, and I like being able to see how far I've got to go, I know that it can put a lot of pressure on you, but I kind of like it because I like being able to see the progress I've made and how much I've read. And I know there's a lot of, I know it's good for convenience sake of you can put a lot of books in this one space so that if you don't have enough room in your suitcase, you can just bring your Nook or your Kindle with you. So that could be nice, and I know that you can highlight and stuff like that, but I don't know. I tried it once. My mom got me a Nook, which is the Barnes & Noble version, and I used it for a little while, but then I just forgot about it. I lost interest in the idea of it. I liked the novelty of it, but I didn't like it. I didn't, after a while, I stopped, using it. And it's been sitting in my, in one of my drawers. I did like the little case that my mom bought me. She bought me a case that had autographs of different authors on there, which I liked that. I thought that was really cool. But, like I said, I would just rather either have the physical book or an audiobook. But I understand the appeal of an e-reader. It's just not for me, personally. But, this would be good for, an audiobook. Especially since it's so long. But anyway, if Skyward, if Starsight has an audiobook on Libby, then I might get it, and listen to it then. But right now I need to listen to a bit more of Hamilton, the biography by Ron Chernow, before I think about getting another book on Libby. So there's that. And then another book I need to get to is The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. This was an Elliot Brooks recommendation. I read the first 2 books and I absolutely loved them. I love the characters and all their unlikability, because some of them are very unlikable. But they're so fun to read about. And this is the last book, and the second book ended really interestingly. Like, I'm definitely curious what's going to happen next, after how that second one ended. So this is the last Argument of Kings, the third book, and then the author has some standalones, and there's another trilogy. And I believe he also has a young adult trilogy, starting with Half a King is the first book in his young adult series. And I would like to check that out as well. I like his writing style. And I'm just having a great time with these characters. And like I said, what happened in book 2 definitely made me curious where this last book is gonna go. So there is that one. And then there's another one in the series that I need to get to, and that is Shadow Rising. But I'm debating about picking this one up because I don't have book 5. I have book 6 in this edition, but I do not have book 5. But this is book 4, Shadow Rising. I love these editions. I think these editions are really cool. And this one is considerably a lot longer than book 3. I'm not going to even bother talking what this is about, because I'm sure you all know what happens in this one, but, or you're at least familiar with the Wheel of Time. I'm trying to read as much as I can. I always try to read like a few books at least before the new season starts. So I want to read books 2 and 2, I wanted to read books 2 and 3. And I want to read book 4, and then hopefully I'll get book 5 for Christmas, if my mom remembers. Okay, because apparently she doesn't pay attention to the number, because it does say the number of what the book is, but maybe she just clicks on it and doesn't look at, what number in the series it is. Because I don't put these in order or anything on my wish list. So, because these aren't the only books that I buy. So this is book 4. And then the last major fantasy, I think, is, well, I guess I'll show you this one as well. And I do have a classic fantasy as well over here. So the last fantasy that I might read for fall is Seven Blades in Black. And I believe this is a duology. Either it's a duology or trilogy. I think it might be a duology. This is about I believe she's a female assassin. And the thing about these books is they're long, but the chapters are not that long. And the print, the way these are printed, the print is very large. So, so these are not hard to read them if they're long. So if I take the time and read a good chunk, I always read up to sometimes when I first start a book, I usually read through to chapter 4 or possibly chapter 6. That's how, because I like to get 2 chapters read, and I like to, if I stop reading for a period of time, unless I'm stopping when I don't have, I have to stop immediately, and I don't have time to get to a page break or a chapter break, then I don't do this, but I always try to read up to an even number chapter. That's just one of my weird little quirks, is that I have to stop, if I can stop at a chapter, it has to be an even number. I don't like stopping at odd number chapters. I don't know why, it's just a weird something that's just something that I do. Either that or, and this is the Grave Empire series, so like I said, I don't know, Grave Empires, I don't know if this is a series only going to be a duology, or if there's going to be more, books. I'll have to look that up on Goodreads, look up this author, and see if this is going to have more than, 2 books, because I know book 2 is out. So it's Seven Blades of Black. Okay, and then the last one that's not like a classic, I should say, or historical, is A Discovery of Witches. This is a 4-book series, I believe, and it is a TV series on AMC. I don't know if I can get this on. Yeah, it says it right here, actually. I don't know if I can get this on the YouTube TV. But at least it's not. But it is a series about, it's been compared to Twilight, like the adult version of Twilight. And we have our main character is a witch. She is from a coven, and she wants to live a normal life. And she wants to walk away from being a witch. So she goes away to school and is now I'm trying to remember if she's like a teacher. Oh, she's just a scholar. And she's a scholar at Oxford, and after discovering a manuscript, what is it? A alchemical manuscript, and she's the only one that's been able to actually read it, all the witches and vampires get freaked out and start hunting her down. And one of the vampires, a professor, demons, which actually, it's funny that they spell demons like how in his Dark Materials spells them, but he actually Deborah Harkness actually means like demons as in Christian demons, not as in a fantastical magical animal that is holds your soul. Okay, it doesn't say, but I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think he is a professor of biology at Oxford, and he is drawn to Diana, our main character, and finds out that she has the manuscript, and he decides to offer to protect her from the demons and the other vampires and the witches who find out that she has this manuscript. Even though she wants nothing to do with this world, they still come after her. So yeah, it has a lot of similarities. It has some similarities to Twilight. And although from what I remember, I remember thinking that Diana was a lot stronger of a character than Bella. Although I did notice that once the guy comes into the picture, the mysterious sexy vampire, she does become a little more passive. I did notice that, and but this could be actually kind of fun, and like I said, it has an academic feel to it, so it would be great if I decide to do a dark academia theme in September, because that would be the time to do it. But since October is going to be Victober month, and the problem is last time I tried to do that, but I also wanted to do a vampire theme. That did not go well. I mean, I still was able to, read Dracula, which was Anne Dracul, which that was another one that was inspired by someone on YouTube. I don't know if she would be consider herself a booktuber, but what is her name? Sorry, I have HGTV on the background. I have it on mute though, so you guys don't hear it on the TV. But I really want to see the end result of this couple's latest house. It's one of those. Well, let's face it. Most HGTV shows are about redoing houses, but this one, it looks like an English cottage that they're doing, and I don't know what state they're in though. But it's really cool. It looks like an old English cottage, and they're redoing it, and I want to see their results. But anyway, and I like the whole academic type setting. of this one, and I think once when I'm done with this, and if I want to continue with the series, I might watch the show as well. And I remember my cousin Ginny, she heard about this and thought this would be something that I would be interested in a while back. But I was kind of trying to take a step away from this kind of thing years ago, for a few years ago. But now I wanted to get back into it lately. So I might read this in September. Since October, well, if I want to stick with October, unlike last year, where I tried to do too many different types of books to read, I'm gonna focus on September. And this has my incredible poem bookmark from the Nevermore bookmark. So as you can see, I'm on chapter 16, but that was because I borrowed the book originally from the library. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, I'll just go ahead and show you the classic fantasy. Okay, so Lord of the Rings, the 50th anniversary edition. I am finally actually picking a physical copy of the book. So I've listened to it on audio, but still, I would like to buy the one with Andy Serkis narrating it, because I wasn't too crazy with the narrator. You know, he wasn't anything really special of the original audiobook. I mean, I'm sure at the time when it came out, it was great, but, you know, it's old. He's older. It's an older version, and I would love to buy the one with Andy Serkis, but I have to buy it, because it's not on Libby, and this is a really long audiobook. So, I will have to, so, although it's on, you know, the 3 different volumes are not that long, so, but I want to get the Andy Serkis, and my library does not, Libby is connected to my libraries, and they don't have that version, so I would have to buy it at some point. But and I think the fact that it's Andy Serkis, our Gollum, who does the narration, I think that's really cool. I would love to see his take on the other characters, as well as the one he played. And I'm actually finally got past the mushrooms chapter, and I'm on chapter 5, which is breaking my rule I just explained to you guys, which is I don't like to stop at odd number chapters, but sometimes on occasion I do, you know, and then I forget about the book for a period of time, and the book stays on my shelf for a while. So but what is very interesting is that there are a lot of little things that are in the book that are not aren't in the movies, that like were taken out because, you know, they needed to. They needed to they couldn't include every little, there's like things that they probably didn't need to include, like little things here and there, like little moments. But mostly they have the dialogue. Like, you can tell Peter Jackson is a fan, and that, you know, that Peter Jackson was a loyal fan, because he includes, and all the people working on it, because he includes the script writers and him and everybody, they include, like, things, you know, that, like, actual bits of dialogue from the book. That is one of the adaptations that's as close and as faithful as it can be. Now, The Hobbit is a different story, which I personally love the Hobbit movies, but I know a lot of people were not happy with the Hobbit movies and thought it was just a money thing when they turned into a trilogy, and maybe it was, but you know what? I still enjoyed them. I had a good time with them, so yes, I gave them my money, and I had a good time with the Hobbit. But, the Hobbit movies. Anyway, but I do want to reread it at some point, though. So, I'm actually asking for a copy of the book for Christmas. And hopefully, so, like, anyway, so yeah, there's that. This is one of the ones that I might read in autumn, but it depends. Because, I mean, look, it's all 3 volumes in one big bind up. So, but at least it's paperback. Okay. Okay, so next, let's see. What else should I talk about? Okay, well, let me just grab the first pile I have here. Okay, first we have, you guys just saw this book in a video. There's 2 books here that you just saw in my book haul, in a book haul. And that is Perfume by Patrick Suskind. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but and I guess it's considered a classic. Well, so this is about a young man, a baby that was born in the 18th century Paris without a smell. He doesn't smell anything. But he has a really thorough sense of smell. And he becomes obsessed in finding the perfect scent to create the perfect perfume. And he becomes obsessed with this one particular woman, I believe. And this, like I said in that video, this is kind of inspired by Emma from Emma Reads. Remember, she loved it. And I'm grateful that it's not that long. Actually, this one, I need to read this one along with, there's another book that I got from the Roast Office. It's not that long either. That is based on a TV show, a movie with Tom Hiddleston. And I can't think of the one with the hotel. But yeah, I thought this would be perfect for the fall, for autumn, because it has a bit of a creepiness to it, and unsettlingness to it too, because the guy is like obsessed, point of stalkerish. Problem, I imagine. So, and it's not that long. And then we have, The Ghost Stories of Edith Wharton. So, I love Edith Wharton. I really enjoyed her work and her stories. I am debating about keeping a copy of The House of Mirth, because I don't know if I'm going to read it or not, but I've been trying to pick and choose books to remove from my shelf and put in the donation pile for now. But I do really like her I love her writing style. And like I said, I feel like I need to try to read some of her, I want to read some of her other work. So I thought reading some of her ghost stories might be interesting. And it won't be as, and the fact that it's sad won't be as bothersome, because sometimes her books, I love her writing, and there's a coziness to her books, but a lot of them have been very sad. But I hope that I end up enjoying these, because I don't want to end up feeling like reading her books and then getting rid of all of them, because I end up being like, oh, I'm not going to read that book again. But I definitely I want to read more spooky stuff, like ghost stories and stuff, because I do love a good ghost story. Okay, and then we have this was one where I had a hardback copy, and then I decided to get the paperback instead. The Historian, and so I've read some of it. I know it's about this young woman who her father once discovered discovered some information, some knowledge that Vlad the Impaler or Dracula might still be alive, or in the evidence that he was a vampire, and her dad gets hunted down and killed, so she herself is the one who takes up the mantle and replaces her father in finding out about Dracula and finding out about Vlad the Impaler. But she is, of course, being hunted down for it. This was actually one of the books I wanted to read last year, because when I was trying to go for a Dracula theme in October, Wilde in October, at the same time, but I never picked it up. This one, along with Salem's Lot by Stephen King, which was Dracula in the Suburbs. I talked about it in book 1, in part 1 of this little TBR. So I've seen one of her other books at the Roast Office, and I thought about buying it, because I figured But I figured I need to read this first, so. Which is what I've been trying to do, is making sure before I get into buy a book by an author, I need to read more than one of their books before I decide, or at least currently buy the one I just bought by that author before I decide. And this, I just like the present. Sometimes I've learned after the whole thing with F. Scott Fitzgerald, I have come to realize sometimes I just like certain books by authors over others. Like, you know, I love The Great Gatsby, but a lot of other things by F. Scott Fitzgerald, it kind of got repetitive and very familiar. Maybe there was different things going on for the characters, but it seems like he wrote a lot about the same stuff and the same type of people. And it's just, after a while, I hate to say, but boring. I mean, I still love his writing. And I feel bad, like, especially because I didn't like Tender as the Night. Considering what it's about. But I was not as engaged with it. So there is that one. The Historian, which I'm going to read. And then the last one is a reread, actually. Another one of my rereads. I talked about quite a few rereads on that video on part 1 of this. But this is my bestie Larissa is currently reading. First she read Persuasion, and now I think she's going to read Frankenstein. I don't know if she's already started. I want to do a buddy read, but she's been busy, so I don't know if she's actually reading or not. So it's okay, you know. Like I said, I want to do a buddy read, but it's not the end of the world if I don't. And plus, I could actually say something to her anyway and ask her. So, and I might do that. But Frankenstein is one of my favorite classics, which, I shouldn't have put that on there. I watched Emily Fox's video on how she bought a bunch of classics, and she had the question to everybody, which is your favorite classics, and I totally did not think about putting Frankenstein on there as one of them. But, this is the 200th anniversary edition, and I really love the design of this one, like all the illustrations. I think it's so cool. This is one of my favorite books. And it's gonna be a little harder to read than a regular paperback or like a Penguin, but I just think it's so cool. And this version, and with all the illustrations, and it's like a children's book. This one, so I'm gonna read Frankenstein soon in this edition, and it's Sweetwater Press. So these are the people who do the Arcturus editions as well, which I really love those. I mean, I have a soft spot for those. I kind of have switched out a lot of my editions that are in those. But yeah, these illustrations are so beautiful. And also weird. Very weird at the same time. But I'm definitely going to read this one as well. And, of course, my nephews or niece, if they ever read Frankenstein for school, they won't be reading this. I don't know if they'll be able to read this edition, because I think it'd be kind of hard. But it's really cool because this is the 200th anniversary edition. But I thought, like saying, considering what this is about, I think it's perfect for October as well, but also perfect for just the autumn. So I might save this for October, for my reread of this for October. I don't know yet, though. I might start it now. Which, funny story, I was looking for that edition. I had trouble finding that on Goodreads, because sometimes some of them exact editions, mostly because they're older. I have trouble finding them, but then, you have to get the exact edition on Goodreads. And then I realized that I had put it on paperback. And it's actually, technically, you can find it on hardback. It's not, like, actually hardback, but I selected the hardback edition, and it turns out I found the edition I was looking for. Okay, so next is The Monk by Matthew Lewis. And I debated about this one, but then I saw Stephen King does the introduction for this edition. And I think it's large print. Yeah, it's a large print edition, which is fine because I was not sure about this. And sometimes large print can really help. And this guy is a monk, and I believe he's really struggling with trying to stay pious and pure because, you know, he desires someone, I guess, and it has a little bit, and so that's why I've debated because of what it's about. I wasn't sure if I would be comfortable with that, but I'm going to try it. Because, I mean, I read the Sleeping Beauty trilogy by Anne Rice. And I'm currently reading The Witching Hour, and she has some stuff in there that is seen as uncomfortable and surprising to probably my family members. But, which, actually, imagine people that don't know me that well, people that are, you know, might be surprised that I'm reading this, that I would read something like this, because most people, you know, I feel like see me as a little more innocent, and I kind of am, like, I feel like I'm kind of naive about, you know, certain, but anyway, so there's that. Then I figured this would also be kind of interesting read for the for autumn as well. Okay, so next we have some more classics. This pile basically consists of a lot of classics. So we have, I already read this once. And this is a reread. I have been wanting to read this for a while. Reread this, and that is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Which apparently a lot of people are very disappointed because they are led to believe this is a romance, and it's not a romance. It's a tragedy, if you think about it. It's like a story within a story. And I've been debating about rereading this for a while. This was actually one that I originally got from the library, and then I ended up buying my own copy. And like I said, I want to reread it. And, you know, this time of year is perfect. So again, this might be a Victober read. And then you have The Woman in White, I was about to say The Moonstone, The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. This is the Wilkie Collins book I attempted to read once before. And I was going to read, I did attempt to put this down because I was going to read Armadale, because it's the one that people don't talk about that much. You don't hear a lot about, so I was like, oh, well, let me start with the one that's not as well known. But then I just didn't get into it. I mean, I still want to read it, and it doesn't mean that I'm not interested in it. It was more like I just put it down, and I need to pick a moment to read it when I can read a good chunk of it. But this is a bit of a mystery, where this guy sees this woman, you know, walking the streets, and he kind of offers to take her home, and he sees her again, not realizing that she's the sister of these people he was visiting, and that is a really poor description of what this, that's why I'm not giving you guys descriptions of these books. But, like, I feel like this would be great for October, or just it's autumn in general, because it's a bit spooky, and so I'm going to try this one, which, speaking of, by the way, the Moonstone, I had thought that was the one that there was a movie that I watched, a fantasy movie that I watched not that long ago. I don't remember what the movie is called. But I thought it had something to do with the moonstone because, by Will Collins, because there was a reference to a moonstone, I think. Or at least I thought there was. But then I realized it's actually, the movie is actually is an adaptation of a Elizabeth Goudge novel. And I learned that from Bookish Princess. And I feel really dumb that I did not realize that. But anyway, so I want to read this first. And then at some point I'm going to get back to Armadale and try that one again. Okay, so there's that. And then this next one is one that I had started a while back. And I'm meaning to pick it back up again. Maybe for Victober. The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. Which actually I don't know if she's a contemporary Jane Austen. Maybe she's not Victorian literature. But I still, which means I'll just save it for I would read it in September. I'm gonna have to look through all these books and divvy them up a little bit. And the same with the other books that I took out. But I put them all away so I wouldn't have like a huge pile right here on my floor. Like last time? Don't even think about it. This is a young girl. After her father dies, she goes to live with her aunt. And her aunt remarries the Count Montoni, and she ends up, and our main character ends up getting kind of stuck living in his castle, I believe. And he tries to force her to marry this one guy that she has no interest in, that she doesn't love, and there is someone that she loves back home that she wants to be with, but her aunt doesn't approve of him because he's not as rich. So she's kind of trapped in Count Montoni's humble abode. And I want to get back to it. Okay, so next, let me go ahead and show you these. Okay, and then we have, I decided to go ahead and, this is the book. I also showed this book to you guys. This was the book that I got from the little library near where my nephews play, like one of their playgrounds that they go to. Which I'm surprised. I was very happy to see this in there. But this is a collection of Elizabethan plays. And I took off the dust jacket because my copy of Vanity Fair is the same edition and it does not have a dust jacket, so I thought it would be kind of cute to see them match this one along with the red and the black. That's the edition I got for the red and black as well. But this is basically a collection of Elizabethan plays, and I thought this would also be good to read during this time. Or maybe during winter time, I don't know. I might save it for the winter. And then I have been meaning to read some philosophy. Pick up one of the philosophy. And I know that Plato's Republic is the most famous work and one that people recommend with starting philosophy. So I am meaning to pick this up. I don't know if I will get to this, but it would be great for if I decide to do an academic theme, a dark academia theme. I could read this one. And then, I don't know if this isn't a debatable one if I want to continue with this one. But, this is the Iliad by Homer. I read the Odyssey, and I probably should have read this one first. But I just, for some reason, I was thinking at the time, I can read the Odyssey first and be fine. So this is, sorry, unfortunately it came, the final result of the house is, on screen. But this is in case you don't know, this is the Trojan War. The war between the Trojans and the Greeks. And, this is it's a Robert Fitzgerald translation. I don't know if it's a good one. I think it's a pretty good one, translation. But I'm still trying to, you know, work my way through like poetry, epic poetry. And now the thing is, the Odyssey was written like a novel. It looked like prose, so it wasn't written like a poem. So I was able to get through with that very easily. But this is actually how the traditional writing style, the poem format. So I don't know if I'll read this for autumn or not, but I thought about it. I haven't been thinking about it, but okay. And then this is one of the books I grabbed. Was the complete poems of Emily Dickinson. I might not read all of them. I feel like when I read Elizabeth Browning's poetry, I went through it too fast and didn't appreciate it. So I'm gonna pick and choose what I want to read and take my time with these poems. And I remember there's actually a show, a very interesting interpretation of Emily Dickinson with kind of a certain flair to it. Like, they're trying to be more modern with it. I think with her life and just a more modern style. I remember it looked like a very interesting, very eccentric show. But I figured to go ahead and start reading her poems for autumn. And like I said, I'm pick and choose so I can take my time with it and not rush it like I did with Elizabeth Barrett Browning. I really want to watch this, but I don't want to stop filming, and I want to make this video for you guys. I really want to see this end result. Okay. Let's see. Okay, then we have. I wanted to get back to this. The collected works of Oscar Wilde. I attempted to start it on one of the stories. I don't even remember what it was about. I think this guy was telling a story in the story. And I really like Oscar Wilde's writing, and again, another cozy writer. He's the same man who wrote, in case you don't know, he wrote Dorian Gray. He wrote The Importance of Being Earnest. And I do need to read some of his plays as well. I started reading him 2 Octobers ago, I believe. And so I got this collection for Christmas from my aunt. So I need to pick these up and start reading them. The good news is my family members probably don't remember what they buy me. So they probably don't know that they bought me this. My aunt probably forgot that she bought me this, so I need to get to this one as well. Okay, so these next 2 are rereads, but I do want to read them in these editions, and that is the baby's room. Oh, I think they believe they're having a girl. Sorry, the couple that the house they're redoing is they just revealed that before they started redoing the house, they revealed that they were having a baby, and it looks like by the colors they chose it's a girl. So, so this is Bleak House by Charles Dickens, and I think this is one of my favorite Dickens. And this is the cloth-bound edition. I've been collecting these cloth-bound editions. I think with the show that I have on the screen, I think I'm gonna see if I can start from the beginning, because I really liked it. That's the nice thing about YouTube TV is I can do that. But this is basically about a court case that has been going on for years. I think it's about an inheritance, if I remember correctly. And there's various different people who could get the inheritance. They're trying to debate who should get the inheritance. So it's similar to his other book, I think, Our Mutual Friend, which I've not read yet, but by the sound of both the plots, they are a little similar, or at least start out with similar conflicts. But we have one of our main characters, whose perspective we get, is this young woman named Esther, and she's taken in by Mr. To be kind of a companion to one of the young girls who could potentially inherit the money. And she might have her own, and her parentage is a bit of a mystery. Like, who her mom is, she does not know. And we have, also another plot of... Actually, I'm going to stop there. But I just remember this was so interesting. And I want to reread it because I remember really enjoying it the first time. It's just times I got confused. And plus, I want to just read this edition in this edition. And then the other one is Middlemarch by George Eliot. So this is about various people in this town called Middlemarch, and they're all and it's all about them getting married and dealing with dealing with marriage. But also in the background, there is a reform bill has just happened, and the characters are dealing with that, and everybody has their own opinion on that. Some people don't want to have an opinion on that and don't care. And this was another one I just remember really enjoying. And I did already start it. Plus, I just want to read these editions of these books because I just love them. Like the cloth-bound editions and the images on the cover. Which I wonder if the cage on Bleak House has anything to do with Esther. Like, maybe she feels like she's in a cage, kind of like a Jane Eyre kind of thing. But anyway, we're supposed to. And then another Dickens that I want to get to is Dombey and Son, because I started originally reading Our Mutual Friend, but Dombey and Son's plot got my attention more than Our Mutual Friend. And this is basically this man, he owns a business that he wants his son to take over. But his son is kind of a bit not what he expected. But he also has a daughter, and she is more capable. But he dismisses her outright and doesn't take her seriously because she is a female. She is a girl, and he does not take her seriously. So it's actually kind of about her more so than her father and his son, and her brother. So, I read some of it already, and I'm really liking it. But again, I got distracted, particularly by Bleak House. But it's like, do I pick up this one or get back to rereading, even though I've already read Bleak House? So that's the Dickens that I want to get to. And then we have Anne Bronte's The Second Amaranth. She only wrote 2 books. She wrote Agnes Grey, which I thought was okay. I had a hard time. I did not get into that one. And The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, which is about a woman who ran away from her abusive husband, took her child away from him, and she ran away to stay to this new town in Tenantville Hall, and there's all these rumors circulating about her story because no one knows about what she did. And of course, back then it would have been wrong for her to leave her husband and get a divorce and try to get a divorce. So, meanwhile, there is it does not say what the guy does, but we have this one guy, Gilbert Markham, who was like, was fascinated by her, and it's a very feminist work. It's a very feminist book for the time period. And I think I might like this better than Agnes Grey. I feel bad for saying I don't like Agnes Grey as much. I mean, it was good writing and everything, and it did get me thinking, but I don't know, I just did not get into the story as much. So maybe I'll get into this one a little bit more. So, there's that one. And then this next one is a book that I keep, another one that I keep putting down and picking up. And that is Brothers Karamazov. And you guys know I have been reading this book, The Family Chow, which is supposed to be, I believe, a retelling of Brothers Karamazov, which I think the Chinese culture and the Russian culture have very similarities of how they look at family. So it kind of makes sense that the next retelling would take place in a country that is similar, has similar beliefs. But I haven't even got to the part when the main conflict, which is, well, yes, in a way we've introduced it, but we haven't gotten to the part where the father gets killed or whatever, which is what happens. The father is murdered, and his sons are the prime suspects, which I talked about in my previous video where I talked about the family Chow, where the oldest brother does a really dumb thing and makes himself look like the culprit before the events take place. So, and maybe he did do it, but we do not know. So, the problem is this book is way too long, so I can't just put that one down, and that's a library book, and I want to read it, so I don't want to pick it back up, put it down and pick it up back up again. But I've read enough of Brothers Karamazov that I recognize the similarities between the two books and the inspiration. Like I said, I need to pick this book back up again and keep going with it, so I figured it's good for autumn. Although I think a lot of my winter books I would read during winter time. I think because of the climate of Russia has a wintry feel to it, so I feel like I would want to pick some Russian books during at least autumn, close to winter time. And then here we have another book that is one that I've again read a lot of, but put it down for a long time. And that is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, about two magicians. And it's during Napoleonic War. And these magicians have different ways of doing things. Like, Mr. Norrell is very traditional. He's older. And then Jonathan Strange is a more, less traditional way of dealing with magic. And they kind of end up competing with each other. Although they're both very similar in personality. They're both very eccentric and arrogant and obsessed with magic. And there's fairies involved in this as well. And it has a very Dickensian writing style. And this is her debut. And I would have loved to mention this book for my top 7 on Sunday because I already filmed my top favorite debuts for 7 on Sunday for the 14th. And I was going to... This I would have loved to include, but I have not finished the book, so I decided nope, not to include it because I haven't finished it, so that would be a cheat. But I do love this book, and it is her debut. Like I said, it's a very Dickensian feel to it. So, and I've read quite a lot since I last picked it up. So, And it's not that hard of a read, you know? It's very easy reading. It's just long. Usually for me, the biggest thing about big books is just the length. Like, the reading is easy. It's just how long they are. Now Russian classics have the added addition of the added detail of the fact that their names, they use the first and the middle name to address people, and there are sometimes people that have the same name. So names can be a little confusing, you know, and stressful to read. And especially as an English speaker who does not know Russian, I have to figure out how the names are pronounced. Russian literature is a little different. They have a few other things, but other than that, they're easy to read. And the same with this one. So there's that. And then we have, let's see, then we have The Letters of John and Abigail Adams. And you guys know I already started this. I read, and this, what is great about this is that it's just letters. It's a bunch of letters between the couple. And this was during, and I wanted to read this in July because this was during, some of this is when John Adams was away at the Continental Congress trying to get the Declaration of Independence created. But they kept debating if they wanted to escape from, because half the colonists did not want to leave England to be under the leadership of King George. Dickinson being one of them. But then the other half thought King George was a tyrant. And like I said, this was during this time, and like the Declaration was written long before July 4th. It's when it became official and everybody signed it was on the 4th, like when we officially got independence. So, but it took quite a long time for it to be signed. But this is the beautiful letters between the husband and wife team, which I really liked because it shows how he respects her and values her opinion, and doesn't just, he tells her exactly what's going on, everything. He doesn't just sugarcoat anything or just like give a summed up version, or he doesn't leave anything out. He tells her everything, because he trusts her and he knows how smart she is, how she does understand this stuff. She's not ignorant of it. And they just have this beautiful, beautiful relationship. Like, I think it's a little more, the romance between them is a little more subtle. It's not as, like, over-the-top passion. Which, it's funny because a lot of people prefer the over-dramatic, over-the-top passion stuff that you see, like, in the Twilight series, or, like, in Discovery Witches, which is fun, too, which they are fun, don't get me wrong, but, it's still romantic and beautiful when you see a couple that's not as, like, over the top. Everything, their whole relationship, it's the end of the world. Which, it's funny because there was an Angel episode where in season 2 or 3, where he runs into an old friend, this couple that he used to hang out with, he and Darla hung out with, and the guy was so, like, they were just crazy in love with each other, very dramatic about their love, very Romeo and Juliet-esque, and very passionate. And in the present day, he ends up killing her to protect some people, these victims of theirs. And the guy gets mad and decides to hunt down Angel because he kills the love of his life, his true love. And he basically, by the end of the episode, he accuses Angel of not understanding or not being truly in love because he's not being dramatic about it, and he's still standing. He's still okay, even though Buffy has, what happened during at the end of season 5 happened. He is still standing. And he's okay, and he feels guilty about that, and he feels bad because this guy got to inside his head and made him feel bad. And Corey sets him straight, points out that no, just because you're not being all dramatic about it You know, people think that you want to, like, realistically, the person you love, they're not going to want you to sit there moping and being all depressed and be like, it's the end of the world. I should die with that person. I mean, in fact, I think that would be selfish of that person if they wanted you to die, you know, not live your life, not continue on with your life. Like, yes, you're going to be heartbroken and maybe miserable for a little while. You'll be grieving. That's healthy. You're supposed to grieve. But you don't have to act like it's the end of the world or a live or die situation when it comes to your loved one. Like, you know, you can be angry and and maybe feel this desire to kill someone if the love of your life is murdered. But you can move on, and they would want you to move on. They don't want you to sit there and be depressed and not live your life. And that's, Buffy wants, Buffy would want Angel to live his life and not sit there and be depressed. And that's what Cordelia tells him, and it's true. So I think a more subtle lovers doesn't mean they love each other less than other couples. It just means they're not so dramatic or showy with their love life, of how they feel about someone. In fact, it's even more romantic if they're not. But yeah, these letters, I love reading these letters. Okay, so next we have, okay. And then we have, so earlier this morning, I watched a video on Lauren and the Books, where she mentioned this book. This is Fingersmith. The only book by this author that I don't have is Affinity, but I do have it on my first books wish list. So I might get it next. I mean, in fact, if I read this soon, I might be inspired to remember to buy it, because sometimes there are books on my wish list that I'm like meaning to buy, and then I don't get around to buying them because I get more excited about other books at the time. So maybe while I'm reading, I might be inspired to buy the book. The book Affinity. That's the only Sarah Waters book I have not read. I don't know if she's writing. I wonder if she's writing anymore. Of course, she might. I don't even know if she's still alive yet. But this is about someone who is a pickpocket. I love how one of the blurb by the New York Times Book Review says, Oliver Twist with a twist. Female and sexually aware. Of course they don't have excuse me. Of course they do not have they don't have a description. Yeah, they just have blurbs. Which is really annoying. But the good thing is you can watch other people's. But what's nice about BookTube is that they can give you a summary of what these books are about. Like I said, I think it's kind of a, like I said, the main character is a kind of a pickpocket. And then I think Lauren said that she gets roped into dealing with going on this particular job that is a long-running one, and she's hired by these people to go on a long-running job, and she ends up falling for the person she's supposed to steal from. So I think that's what Lauren said, something along those lines. So I was gonna, so I think I'm gonna pick up this one, and maybe in the winter time I'll pick up The Night Watch. I think that's what it's called. And then, like I said, I need to buy Affinity soon. So maybe that's what I might do in September. I'll order Affinity, because this is a no buy from, at least not no buy, but no ordering books off the rip books. Just going to the store and buying them. It'd be kind of nice if they had Affinity at Books A Million, but I don't know if they do. I have never seen it there. So, and then another classic, an author that has been compared to Dickens, is Anthony Trollope and Family Parsonage. This is the 5th book in the Barsetshire series. This is about a series about this one village that they have the church kind of runs the village. And this is the family parsonage. So I think these are all the books in this edition. In this Harcourt, Brace, and World edition. On the back. This does not have a summary, I don't think. Let's see. Again, they don't give what the plot is about. They just say that, oh, this was Trollope's 4th book, and oh, it was serialized in 1861, and Trollope won an award for it. It's like, that's great. But I really don't care. In all honesty, I just want to know what the book is about. So I don't know what this one is gonna be about. I need to look it up. I'll have to look this one up. I could really take the dust jacket off these books, because the dust jackets are torn apart. So I could take the dust jacket off because they're actually not, necessarily too plain. The covers aren't that bad. Not that plain, because they're, they look like wallpaper from a Victorian house. So I could technically, and then, the titles are on the spines. So I could take it off if I wanted to, but then I would have to save these. I would want to save these dust jackets and put them in a box or something. But so I can't tell you what this is about at all. But it is the 4th book in the series, and okay. Oh no, nope. Okay, let's see. What can I grab next? Okay, so, one more fiction. Okay. And then I can grab the nonfiction. Grab some of the nonfiction. Oh, well, actually, there's a couple more fiction works. So then we have I Have Been Meaning to Mansfield Park, which I've been meaning to reread. I've already read it. I really enjoyed it the first time I read it, so I've been meaning to reread, especially since I got these editions. This edition of Mansfield Park. I have this one, Mansfield Park, in this edition, and then I have Emma in this edition. While my copy of Pride and Prejudice is in the Barnes & Noble Classics editions. And then Sense and Sensibility is in the cloth-bound editions. So, and then I have Northanger Abbey is a modern library. And then, actually, Persuasion, I think, is considered modern library. I think it's a special edition of Modern Library, I think. So Mansfield Park is about Fanny Price, and because her parents have a lot of kids and they can't take care of her, while her oldest brother has gone in the Navy, she is sent to live with her mother's sister, Lady Bertram, and her husband, Lord Bertram. And they have 4 kids, 2 daughters and 2 sons. And she is living with them when I think she's 10 when she first moves in with them. And the only one of the family that actually kind of forms a bond with her and a friendship with her is Edmund Bertram. And over time she ends up falling in love with Edmund. And and Fanny is constantly kind of belittled by her mom's other sister, Miss Norris. And, but other than that, her life, and she's also, her uncle's kind of hard on her too. And as an adult, and then, but she has a not so terrible life. I mean, she's very appreciative, and she understands her situation, and she needs to be grateful, although her aunt thinks she should be more grateful, and doesn't show it. So then her world is kind of turned even more upside down when the Crawfords, Mary and her brother, Henry Crawford show up and kind of become friends with the family. And Henry kind of flirts with her two cousins, Mariah, although I think it's Maria. The audiobook said Maria, but I think it looks like Mariah. But Maria and her other cousin, whose name I do not remember. Okay, it doesn't say, but he flirts with Mariah and the other cousin, even though one of them is supposed to be, is actually engaged. They arrange her to be engaged to this other guy, and the Crawfords convince them to put on this play that is seen as like inappropriate and not something the father would approve of, and he's away at the time traveling. And Fanny does not think it's a good idea to do it because he will not approve of it. And and Edmund at first agrees with Fanny, but then Mary Crawford says something about, she doesn't think there's anything wrong with it, and he suddenly is interested in doing the play too. And obviously he likes Mary Crawford. He starts to fall for Mary Crawford. And when her two cousins, Mariah and the other one's name I cannot remember, eventually leave, Henry starts to flirt with Fanny, because he is someone she cannot get, because she knows his number. She knows the kind of guy he is, and does not trust him. And he flirts with her. He likes the challenge, and I think he actually started to fall for her. But I have been wanting to reread this for a while. I absolutely love this. I'm loving it. I know not everybody does, but I guess it's kind of like how some people love Mansfield Park. Some people love Persuasion. And, and I think Fanny and Anne Elliot are very similar characters. In a lot of ways, in personality and stuff like that. But anyway, so I want to reread this one as well. Okay, so let's show. Okay, let's see. Okay, and then we have 3 books that I could apply to Dark Academia if I wanted to do some Dark Academia theme again. We have I Need to Pick Up this one again. I did eventually. I think it fell. I don't know if it fell out, or I hope it didn't fall out. I'll have to look and see if it's in there. But I decided to start back up again with this one, Portable Dante, which has the whole Divine Comedy, which is Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. And then it has also Vita Nuova, which I think was dedicated to his lover Beatrice, the woman he was in love with, or was his muse, Nuevo. So there's that one, but I've been meaning to pick this up again and start from the beginning with this one, along with Paradise Lost, the other one, which is about the fall of Lucifer and the fall of Adam and Eve. Basically the original sin, so to speak. And I remember really liking this book as well, really liking these. I thought this was really interesting. I don't know if I would ever read the Bible, but I like reading when it's done in a way that I can understand and get into. In this kind of way, almost like reading fiction. Now, of course, people that aren't Christian might consider the Bible fiction. But I think, so it's just like, I feel like it just makes it easier. I wish I could get access to the Penguin edition of the original King James Bible. Of course, a lot of people would say, why buy that when you have a copy of the Bible? Because I do, but I think those would be a little harder to read. Although my mom does have, I think, one edition, because she took a religion class, because she was given a chance to go back to school and at least take a few classes. And she took a religion course, and I think she does have a book that's an annotated type version of the Bible. I think I would have to look, because I was watching Jennifer Brooks' video where she talks about, she recommends books to read before you read Dante's Divine Comedy, and she mentioned the Bible, and I was like, I don't know if I could read that, because unfortunately the Bible is really dense, and there's a lot, and I'm still kind of trying to make my way through bigger books. So, I almost can appreciate more when it's, like, told to me, rather than me actually physically reading the Bible. But, so there's these two, and then this was another book that was recommended before I read the Divine Comedy, the Aeneid, to read this one, because Virgil is, the character version of Dante. Virgil is his guide when he goes to hell. So Jennifer Brooks had recommended, reading the Aeneid, because it plays a part in Dante's trips through, Inferno and Purgatorio. So, if I'm crazy enough, I might even read these ones together. But I figured for Dark Academia purposes, which I'm going to go through all these and try to organize this, because, I don't know if I would actually get through all these books, but these are the ones I'm thinking about, that I'm interested in, along with part 1, the books from part 1. Then I got one more fiction work to show you, and then the last 4, I believe I have there, are nonfiction. Okay. I decided to go ahead and grab this one because this is a to reread, because I kind of regretted deciding to donate North and South, because I did love it. This is Elizabeth Gaskell's Gaskell, and this is kind of like a Pride and Prejudice-esque story, and I do kind of like it better than Pride and Prejudice, although I recently reread Pride and Prejudice, and I still love it, but I still kind of find this narrative, a little more compelling than that one. What's this new edition? So yeah, I think the border, there was a border before, on my copy of, The Count of Monte Cristo, they had the border of this part was purple, all this was purple, so, I think they must have changed them to red, at one point, but, this is basically her father does not want to, so our main character is Margaret Hale. They live in the country in the south of England, and her father is a minister or a clergyman, and he doesn't agree with he doesn't agree with the fact that he has to reaffirm. I just watched the miniseries, so that helps a little bit on certain details I forgot. He doesn't want to reaffirm, so he uproots his family to north of England in Milton, the town of Milton, which is a factory town, and the man who helps them is John Thornton. He gets them their apartment where they live, and he owns one of the mills, and he's actually one of the better mill owners than some of the other guys, and he is more respectful to his employees and is more honest with them, as you later learn. And he ends up, he and Margaret at first do not get along. He makes a bad impression on her, especially when he gets mad at one of his employees who was caught smoking at the mill, and he is kicked out, and Margaret does not agree with his reaction. He thinks he overreacted, and she doesn't approve of it. It turns out that Thornton is the first pupil that works for her father, because her father decides to be a teacher and takes on students, and Mr. Thornton is one of his pupils. And right away, him and Margaret do not, and so right away, Margaret and John once again cross paths and still do not make a good impression on each other. And so, like I said, and meanwhile, there's a subplot. She makes friends with one of the women who works for Thornton. And her father works for another mill, I believe. And she kind of forms a friendship with them. But there's kind of this whole tension between the masters and the workers, because they feel like they're not being treated fairly, they deserve more wages, and they decide to go on strike. And it does not go well, and John Thornton even hires some Irish workers to take their place, and the people get aggressive and fight back. And Margaret kind of gets caught in the middle, because she wants to fight for the workers, and she doesn't agree that how they're treated. She doesn't approve of it, but she also, doesn't want. She cares enough about cares enough about people, and Thornton doesn't want to see him get hurt because of it. So, like I said, it's very much a Pride and Prejudice story, but with the themes exploring more than just romance, also in marriage. Also, it explores the themes of the Industrial Revolution and the fight between the workers and management. And also there's a few philosophical discussions in here as well. So I want to reread this. Okay, and now we're on to the nonfiction. I have a handful. Although, I guess the philosophy book is nonfiction, too. We have this one. Again, this was another, just like at the library, I decided to go in the vault where the history books and the nonfiction are, and I went in there and got this book. Found this one. This is where the other cat-related bookmark was. This is, I still don't know how to say the last name. Democracy in America, the two essays on America. So I've already read some of it. A little bit of it already. And I think this is I'll definitely, and I'm looking forward to finding out if I can incorporate this into themes, into Nonfiction November, but I don't know what theme she'll pick. If this could potentially work for that, but I do want to, but yeah, this is about democracy. And that's right. So this guy was a young French aristocrat and civil servant. He made a 9-month journey through Eastern America. And I guess this is him writing about America and democracy. Which I think is very intriguing, especially from a non-American perspective. So I got this one as well. So I bought this one. At some point I did start reading some of it. He said, hopefully I can fit it into my nonfiction November theme. One of the themes. Okay, and then we have, this is one I did for some reason decide to bring with me when we went to my sister's place for a while. I did attempt to read this. I don't know why, because I should have known better that I wouldn't really get a lot of it read. I did attempt to pick it up in the car, but my mom, was listening to the Dateline podcast. I think it'd be very interesting. It can be a bit distracting. So I read some of it. And obviously I tried to pick, underline some things I thought were interesting or important. This is The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire by Edward Gibbon. And actually Jennifer Brooks just talked about this book on her video. This is an abridged version though. So you see how long this one is? This is only one volume of it. And apparently you can't buy any other volumes, or you could, but they're super expensive. So this is what Thrift Books has to offer. So it's just kind of funny it's a abridged version, but in this case I'm okay with it. Like, I don't normally, but this is also nonfiction, so it's a little different. It's not as, having a abridged version is perfectly fine, because I'm sure there's a lot to read, and it's not, and again, nonfiction, so it's not a story where you would want the whole thing. You necessarily want the whole thing. But I did think it would be, I showed this book in the other part 1 where I talked about Death of Kings, which I have over here. That's why I'm looking over here. Death of Kings, and I thought reading these two together might be a good idea. And like I said, on that video, Olive from Book Olive and Jennifer Brooks both have said that sometimes it really helps to read a fiction work with a nonfiction work. And sometimes it's kind of fun to, compare the two, especially, because like I said, this is about the fall of the Roman Empire, the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, and then this, and the Death of Kings, is about the rise of it, so to speak, because it's about Julius Caesar and how he came to be. But a fictionalized version is, which, so yeah, the original is 3 volumes. And I guess you can find the rest of them, like at least passages, online. But I will read this for now, and I want to read this one for now and then see where I go from here. And maybe I'll check out the other passages at some point. Okay. Okay, the last 2 books are The Histories by Herodotus. This is the first history book that was ever written. Written by Herodotus, and I think he's Greek. So it's like, looks at, excuse me, how the Greeks managed to repulse a massive invasion by a powerful Persian army in the 5th century BC. It looks at how Athens and Sparta became the 2 major powers in Greece. It introduces revolutionary ideas about democracy, education, philosophy, and drama, and thanks to Herodotus, the writing of history. So this was like the first history book. So again, I thought I'd try it out. Like I said, I really hope that I can apply some of these to the subject, the themes. Although Olive always says in her video, read what you want to read, but you can use the challenges to get you started. So hopefully any of these will apply to my challenges. If not, I might still read them anyway. No. Damn it. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, it was falling under my seat, under my recliner. Okay, and the last one is one that you normally, if you know me, you'd probably be surprised by this one. But The Origins of the Species by Charles Darwin is another one. First of all, I thought it'd be kind of good for, could work with my theme for August because it's orange. But I don't know if I'll get to it or not for August. Because I added 2 more books, or 3 more books actually. I might not even get to any of those books, including Death of Kings. But this is like Charles Darwin was the guy who sailed on the Beagle ship and landed on this island where he described all the different species he came across in like kind of like a diary, and it eventually became a book. And he kind of introduced the idea of survival of the fittest, which now is still known today because sometimes people apply that to humans as well, which is kind of scary, actually, if you think about it. But yeah, I thought I would try it out. And I might end up saving it for Nonfiction November and see if I can apply to one of those challenges. If not, well, that's okay. So, yep, that's... Okay, so that is all the rest of the books. Like I said, I'm going to organize these books and pick and choose, but it's just very hard. But yeah, these, along with those other ones, are the books that I want to read. I just don't want to leave them out in a pile on my floor. But I don't know, that might still happen. I might take them all back out again. But, we shall see. Anyway, so if you guys like this video, please give a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the notification bell if you want to be notified when I make new videos. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you are having a happy, healthy, safe whether it's summer or winter time, depending on which part of the world you're in. And I will talk to you all later. All right, bye.